Creepers left and right, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to steal my lady. Spiders in the mirror and feel this can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spill drinkers, Cupid and the sound of her first chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life. And when we make love, babe, don't make a sound, the clock won't turn around. Ooh, you turn around, 2,000 little fires, and ooh, your siren call is spreading. Slowing things down when I wanted to race, catching up again when you try to chase. Feels like we're playing space.
Good morning. Hello. Welcome back to my channel, friends, or welcome if you're new. Is my Christmas tree still up, even though today is January 5th? Indeed it is. I am definitely not an early tree taker downer. Not necessarily because I love it. I mean, I do love the lights, but I don't know, it's just another thing I have to do, and I'm waiting for my men to help me because the tree is very tall. So anyway, also, it's just fun to sit here at the kitchen counter and talk at you with the tree in the background. So, we're starting a new vlog today. Today is Wednesday. And I thought that I would start a vlog today because the book that I'm reading is pretty interesting, and I think it could have some good potential for some chatting and some discussion. So, I just finished book 4 in the Bedouin Saga by Mary Bellog. Really, really loved it. Also, I got my nails done. Look, aren't they very wintry? I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. It's my favorite so far. And I do plan to read the prequels. I will, for sure. I'm just not there yet. So I need to finish the series and then I'll go back and read the prequels. But I was going to start on book number 5 of the Bedouin Saga, and then I felt like, you know, maybe it's time for a little bit of a break, because I have been reading a lot of historicals, and I love historicals, but oh, my tea is done steeping. But I felt like maybe it was time for a little bit of like a palate cleanser, you know? So I picked up Darling Venom. This is a new release I've been hearing a little bit of rumblings about, not too much yet at this point. I feel like most people who have read this are really raving about it. I haven't heard too many of I don't think I've even heard any of my friends have read this yet. I just saw it kind of being mentioned, and so I felt like I heard it was sold as a very emotional, angsty romance, and say less. That's everything that I like, right? So I picked it up also because it has narrators that I really like. I picked up the audiobook, and I'm a few hours into it, and I'm really enjoying it so far. It's definitely not what I was expecting. I really didn't even read the blurb, the back of the book, so let me tell you what it's about pretty quickly, if I can. I don't know. I can't ever say anything quickly. So this book is about our two kids who meet when they're about 13. They're very young. They meet on this rooftop balcony because they are both planning to jump. It is a suicide attempt. They both meet up there. They come from very troubled pasts. The heroine has a very tragic backstory, and the hero does as well, and they sort of form this connection there that night when they were both going to attempt suicide, and then they decide that they're going to make this pact, and they will meet on the rooftop. It's Valentine's Day, by the way. Every Valentine's Day until school ends. And that way they have like an accountability check-in so that they won't end their lives because they know they have to meet that person that next year. I thought that was a sort of beautiful way to meet. So we see these two kids basically for a few years. They end up getting to know each other a little bit better. They end up meeting every year for a few years, for I think 3 or 4 years. And then on the 4th year, the boy, the girl, she is late meeting him there. And on that night, he jumps and takes his own life. And she had just started to like fall in love with him. Like he was her first love, basically. And so then the story is basically that she met this boy. They had this really powerful connection, this shared sorrow. He ended up taking his own life, and she is left grieving him and loving him. And then years pass. She ends up meeting his older brother, who was like his caretaker, the boy's caretaker or like guardian. She ends up meeting his older brother, and it is their romance. So the book is basically about, she met this childhood love, he took his own life, she ends up actually falling in love with his older brother. So I'm really interested in this, to be quite honest, so far. I think that the setup was I was obviously very emotional, but it didn't feel heavy-handed at all. It felt just like I was very gripped into the story right away. And I actually didn't read the blurb before I started the book, and so when he took his own life, I was like, what? And then I read the blurb. So that's why I feel like I am going to tell you all that is in the first part of the book, because obviously trigger warning for suicide and attempted suicide, but also I don't want y'all getting attached to the boy because he's not the main love interest, you know? So anyway, I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm very much intrigued by this premise. I will say, when time passes and the heroine ends up tracking down, well, she doesn't actually track down his brother. They sort of have this very chance meeting. He's a gynecologist, and it's her boss's gynecologist, and her boss asks her to go to his office to see why he's not answering the phone to schedule an appointment for her. She's pretty much low on the totem pole, so she does, and as she walks into the office, she sees him screwing another woman on his desk, and they maintain eye contact during the remaining time of the activity. So interesting. I don't know. I've really been just like yearning for a very emotional romance, and I don't feel like I've gotten that in a way that has been 1000% satisfying for me. I'm sorry, 100% for all you mathematicians out there. So I'm really hoping that this delivers on that. We'll see. I've never read Parker S. Huntington before, so crossing my fingers that this is a good one. It's very compelling so far. So that's the reading plans. Today, I just plan to work. I colored my hair the other day. I have to run some errands later, so yeah. I'll keep you updated once I get more into this book. Thanks for joining me for another reading vlog and putting up with my Christmas tree. Hello friends, I am here for a quick vlog reading update. I just finished filming the first half of 2022's Rake Appreciation Society Book Club picks, and that was fun. I have a TBR video up for that. It will be up by the time this vlog goes up. But I need to get started working, but I wanted to update you on Darling Venom. Let's see, the light is kind of weird. I don't want you to see my garbage corner where I put like boxes, and you can see a little bit of it over there. Anyway, so Darling Venom. Okay. I'm not sure how I feel about this book, you guys. I really wanted to have this be deeply emotional. I really love the idea of the heroine finding love and the hero finding love together, even though Kellen is gone. You know, it's the hero's little brother and the heroine's first love. Like, I love the idea of these two people finding each other and finding a lot of love and happiness and comfort and sort of healing together. Like, I really love that idea. But there are a few things, like, I feel like this book has great potential in that area. I feel like the writing is good, and I feel like she's doing a pretty good job of getting you to really understand these characters and their motivations, and they do have a connection for sure. It's not necessarily romantic yet, but they do have this draw, and then of course they have the shared history of Kellen, who died. But the thing that is really sort of jarring me out of this story is there are some choices that have been made regarding some sex scenes in this book. Like, when the heroine finds out or goes to the hero's office, he's a gynecologist, and she basically walks into his office and he's screwing a woman on his desk. And that's like the first moment after having such a heavy opening that has a lot of emotional weight to it, that has a lot of really traumatic events happening, and then her first meeting of Kellen's brother, who will be the hero, her love interest, is when she goes to his gynecologist office to try and get an appointment for her boss with him, and then she sees him literally going at it with a woman on his desk, and that was it just felt like the tone didn't match up right, you know? I feel like this is a very serious topic we're talking about, and I feel like it can be handled in a way that is beautifully done. But when you throw in something like that is clearly put in there to titillate you or shock you or something to... I mean, honestly, like, I feel like that scene is in here for TikTok readers, you know? Like, I've been thinking a lot about TikTok readers and how often they talk about spice and heat and steam, and they're neglecting the great meat of romance novels, which of course physical intimacy is a part of that. But that's their focus, you know, and I can't help but picture these as, you know, late teens, early 20 readers who for the first time are seeing the word cock on page, you know, and I feel like that sense of them needing to be titillated by something there. And maybe I'm being harsh, right? But this is what I have come to realize is the vast majority of book and why I don't resonate with it at all. Is just because that's their focus, and that's, you know, like, you have 20-second, 30-second, a minute or so videos, and most of the content on there for Spicy Book Talk are very quick videos to a sound detailing a steamy scene that is like shocking or oh yeah, and I'm just like, I'm over that, you know? I feel like they're reducing romance novels to the sex, which is a big part of it, and this isn't, you know, erotica is a valid form of romance, but because that's the focus, they're not acknowledging or seeing the depth and the emotion and the power that romance novels actually have. Which, yes, of course, physical intimacy is a part of that. Women and men both stepping into their sexuality and owning it and claiming it, like, that is a powerful part of romance novels. But that's not what they're talking about, right? They're talking about it with, like, 5 different emojis and, I don't know, like, do I sound old yet? Because I feel old talking about this, but I also don't really care, because that's why I'm here. That's why this is my format for talking about books, is because I have -20... I have less than negative interest in reading books that are sold to me in that way. Like, it does not appeal to me. I don't find it shocking or titillating. I've read plenty of steamy books, plenty of explicit books, and that's usually almost never the selling point for me. Anyway, I know I talk about this a lot recently, but I came across a Reddit discussion about TikTok and spicy booktok, and it was really interesting to me, the different points of view, and a lot of them were very similar to what I'm talking about, and I just thought it was interesting. And I think that I feel like, because this is a newly released book, it definitely feels like she's leaning into some type of scene that is like TikTok worthy, right? Like I can see, I'm sure there are TikToks about that scene, 20-second TikToks about that scene. But I feel like it's not the best choice for this story, you know? It just feels like such an abrupt tonal shift that I'm just sort of like, was that really the best way to, you know? Like, so I don't know. I want to see these two come together and fall in love and try and find some healing, or talk about things that haven't been revealed about Kellen and his life and what led to his, you know, like I want to see that happening, and it hasn't yet. But there was also another scene, which, spoilers, kind of, I'm going to detail this next sex scene, where the heroine, for some reason, for plot reasons, she is 22 years old, the hero is 35, she's a virgin, and she's never had a gynecological exam before. So obviously she goes to this hot man who she's attracted to, who is, you know, the older brother of her high school sweetheart, and he does her pelvic exam for the first time. And she has a very obvious physical response to that, like she orgasms on the table, and it just felt, again, like just a weird choice for the story, for the overall story that I feel like is being told here. That feels like a very weird choice. I didn't like it at all. It was one of the only sex scenes that I have ever read where I was feeling such a sense of awkwardness and secondhand embarrassment. Oh, I really did not like that at all. So, yeah, I don't know. Very conflicted. I really don't see this being a 5-star read at that point, which is sad because I really loved the opening. I really loved the emotional meat here so much that I ordered a physical copy of this book because I thought this is going to be great. But then I've had the only sex scenes have been like that, and they're just so jarring, you know? Like, I don't know, I keep searching for a really emotionally hard-hitting romance that is also steamy as heck. Like Still by Kennedy Ryan, right? I want more books like that, or Real, or whatever, and I just keep coming away disappointed. So I don't know what my final thoughts are going to be on this book. I'm over halfway through. I guess I'll let you know when I find out. I think it will be interesting to see what my final thoughts are, especially considering that they're not even really making an emotional connection, and it's over halfway through. So I just don't really understand why this author would choose to work with such sensitive and hard-hitting topics, but not really have that be the focus of the romance yet, where it's very much lust-driven. I don't know. We'll see. There's still time to change my mind. Maybe I'll come back and say, actually, this is a 5-star read. I guess we'll see. Who knows? Anyway, I feel like I need a historical after this. Like, I tell you what, every time I break away from historical, I'm like, give me my historicals right now, please and thank you. I'll be back when I finish this.
The last breath of summer is blowing down our necks, and soon we'll wave goodbye to the fleeting bliss. Because you are like a tidal wave, ripping up my life, not living without a trace. And you know that silent patient. You know I'm your silent patient. I've been waiting this long out for your hands to hold me up. I'll be holding on through the winter for your kiss to wake me up. Now with the colors of spring, my heart will blossom up.
Hello, friends. Welcome back. Today is Friday, January 7th. And yes, my tree is still up. It's coming down soon, I promise. I promise. Like, it's I have a hard time letting go of the lights because they're just so cozy. But I'm asking my children, my 6'5", 17-year-old, to dismantle the tree for me. So, also, this is the tea I'm drinking today. This is one of my favorites that I tried in my advent calendar, and so I bought some. Honeybush pumpkin chai. I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. Anyway, let's talk about Darling Venom because I finished it. I have a lot of complicated feelings about this book. And while it does end with a happily ever after, I really, truly feel like the romance was very secondary. This is... Okay, so, like, I kind of wish this wasn't even a romance, because I feel like the author had a lot of really good things to say about grief and about loss and about moving on and healing, and I really think that that can be tackled in a way that is really beautifully done in romance novels where they heal together or they help each other heal, you know? I feel like when this book opens and you meet Kellen, the teenage boy who ends up committing suicide, he's such a powerful character. And the entire book really reflects on him. Like, there's a book that he left that he wrote about Charlie, the heroine, and it's called Darling Venom. That's where the title of the book comes from. And there are excerpts of that book in here that really allow an opportunity for her and Tate, his brother, to have, like, closure in a way and to move past just the disabling grief, especially grief and guilt that especially was haunting Tate. And I think that another portion of this book that was really explored a lot was Charlie's relationship with her sister, who was involved in the tragedy that happened with Charlie's parents. They have a very fraught relationship, and there is a lot of work and a lot of emphasis on how they're growing and overcoming that and sort of reestablishing and forming a new bond and moving past that trauma and blame and guilt, you know? And I thought that was beautifully done too. And I thought that Tate's relationship with his father, Kellen and him have the same father, they have different mothers, was painful to read a lot. There's a lot of guilt there, both of them guilting one another, blaming each other. There's so much, like, almost hatred that is all based around Kellen and what he did. And so watching that relationship also become repaired was really beautiful, and I thought that was really well done. But I just can't get over how the romance between Tate and Charlie, it felt so secondary. And I feel like in a story like this, it could have been done. It could have been done, and it could have been beautifully powerful. And I felt like it just felt unsatisfying to me because... it also felt unbelievable I felt like a lot of time was focused so much on their family relationships, like Charlie and her sister, Tate and his dad, and all the while they're mourning Kellen, they're grieving him, they're trying to come to terms with what he did and feeling like, well, if I had only known this, or if I had only known that, I could have stopped him. That there was little room for the two of their romance to really take center stage, and I do feel like, because the author made the hero very angry and sort of and they're not really enemies to lovers, but very antagonistic towards Charlie, I feel like because she did that, she made the draw they had together to be purely physical and lust-based, which was evident in the orgasm on the gynecology table. Like, I can't get over that scene being in here in a book that in every other aspect was very sensitive and very thoughtful and very emotional. But then you throw that in there, which seems like it was purely in there for the taboo aspect to titillate you, and it just felt like such a dramatic tonal shift. I just wish with all my heart that had not been in here, because this is not a book that is a sexy taboo romp at all. And it just felt so out of place that I just really wish that had not been in here at all. It didn't even contribute anything to the story other than that one shocking moment. And like, this book is not high on steam at all. So you have like that moment and the opening scene when she meets Tate and he's banging somebody on the desk, and I'm just like, why would you? I don't understand the choice of including that in a book, specifically the orgasm on the gynecology table, when you're talking about and you're telling such an emotional, heavy-hitting story. I don't know why that was included. I really wish it hadn't been. And honestly, I do feel like if that scene, the gynecology table scene, had not been in here, I probably would have rated this book higher, because that literally just destroyed so much of what I felt like this book was trying to do. Like, they do have sex later on. They have a really beautiful, steamy, sexy scene. But that one, I don't know, it just seemed... I just don't understand why that was in here. I mean, like I was saying earlier, I really feel like that scene was in here. It almost like, it honestly feels like that scene was in this book, specifically so TikToks could be made about it, so it would sell this book. But that is such a teeny tiny minute part of what this book is. Like, I hate that it was included. I feel like the marketing for this book has been so much about forbidden, taboo, age gap, that nobody that I have seen is really talking about the heavy emotional topic of this book. Like, how do you move on? How do you move on when you're the guardian of your little brother and you have no idea that he's suffering and he kills himself? How do you move on when you've made a pact with someone who's become your best friend and you think you're in love with them, and then they don't follow through with their part of the deal and they kill themselves? Like, I don't know. I feel like there were some missed opportunities in this book. And it makes me so sad, because I felt like I felt like this author had the ability to really do something here. I felt like she could have, but it just felt like she just missed the mark with some of the choices that she made, and I don't know. I'm disappointed. There were still parts of it that were beautiful. You know, I had talked about those, the relationships. Overall, the most underwhelming part of this was definitely the romance. It was Tate and Charlie's romance. It was very underwhelming. Yeah, I was hoping for more, and I don't feel like I also like the choice that was made in the epilogue, the final moment of the HEA, maybe not the final moment, but one leading up to the final moment of the HEA. I don't understand that choice. You know, like, I'm going to put a spoiler up on the screen and I'm going to tell you what that choice is because I just have to, so just mute me for a minute. Tate takes her to the rooftop where she would meet with Kellen and where Kellen jumped off and killed himself. He takes her there and proposes to her on that roof. I don't understand that choice. I don't understand that choice. That also was a big determining factor on a 3-star rating, because at times I felt like maybe this will be a 4-star. I really like what's happening here. I really like the emotional development of these characters. But again, like, I just felt like that romance was lacking overall. And because this is a romance, and I don't know, this is a messy book. And I do feel like she tackled some really complicated relationships, and a lot of them were done really well. But overall, I feel like the overall message of this that I was hoping to get out of this, which was a very satisfying romance with two emotionally scarred people who are grieving and who are trying to move on and hopefully going to do that together, it missed the mark for me. I wish she had not leaned into the taboo nature and the age gap, because though both of those seemed, the age gap had a little bit of play, but not like you would expect in it just missed the mark. I don't know. So yeah, I am interested to read more from this author. This is the first I've read from her. Curious to see what else she has out there, but I don't think I would be recommending this. I think I would, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to be recommending this. I think that if I had known, honestly, I picked this book up purely because I had seen pictures going around. I heard the audiobook narration was really good. And that's really why I picked it up, because nobody that I know whose opinions I trust has read or reviewed this. Just random people. I actually saw somebody who listened with Brit on TikTok talk about this book and how much she loved it, how much she loved the audio narration, and my taste and hers does not align at all. She definitely seems to prefer new adult, and I am pretty over that. But I think that I would be really careful about recommending this book. And like I said, like, if I had known that this was a book that was a lot about suicide survivors, attempted suicide, and a literal suicide on page, like, I don't think I would have picked it up, because that, like, for many people, that is a topic that is extremely close to me. And I'm very careful about the books that I read that deal with that subject, because it can be very triggering. And I also feel like it can be very difficult to tell a convincing story in a way that sort of respects the nature of depression. That, you know, there was a line in here that really rubbed me the wrong way, where I can't remember if it was Tate or Charlie who said, if Kellen knew how this would have affected us, he would not have done this. And I really despise that train of thought. I really hate that opinion, because it's not true. You know, I mean, well, I can't say it's not true, because I'm obviously, nobody who has committed suicide is here to tell us how they feel about that. But I do know that if you have ever been in that spot where you have contemplated suicide as an option, it's really difficult to cast judgment if you have not been in that place, you know? And I just feel like too many times suicide is talked about, well, if only they knew how the people left behind. Of course they know. I don't know. It's difficult. Like I said, like, this is a really messy book, a really difficult subject. And I think that she got a lot of it right, but I feel like she got a lot of it wrong too. So I don't plan to recommend this book, and it was a 3-star read for me. So feeling a little bummed, honestly. I literally just finished it. And now I don't know what to read next. I have seen a lot of my friends, specifically Jen and Jessen, have been, well, Jen just barely finished Manacled, this Draco and Hermione fanfiction. And I just found that the audio is on Spotify, so I may give that a try. It's a very, very long book, so if I do pick that up, I'm sure I won't have finished it by the time this vlog is over. But I think I'm going to give that a try. It's another very dark, very triggering book, but Jen has assured me it has an HEA, and I trust my Jen. I trust my little sis Jen. So, anyway, those are my thoughts on Darling Venom. Complicated, you know. I mean, I'm sure other readers may take different things away from it, but inevitably, life experiences shape our reading opinions, and that's mine. So, all right, time to get to work. I'll update you when I've read something of something. I don't know what it will be. Hello, friends. Welcome back. Okay, so I did not actually go on with the Draco and Hermione fanfiction. I started it, the Manacled. All my friends have been reading it, and I am definitely feeling a little bit of FOMO. But also, I just don't feel quite ready to commit to a 1,200-page book right now. I don't know. I might pick it up after I finish this vlog. I probably will. I did start it, and it was interesting, but I didn't get very far into it. So, what I did do, however, was go back to the Bedouins. I picked up Slightly Sinful. I know they're slightly, I don't know why I said suddenly, by Mary Belloc. This is the 5th book in her Bedouin saga. So this one has Elaine Bedouin, who was believed to have been dead from the previous book. He was in the war, and he actually did not die. He was injured and lost his memory. So I am about 60% of the way through, so I'm right there, and I'm really enjoying this. This is a very unique opening scene when the heroine she's a lady, but she's living in basically a whorehouse with a bunch of prostitutes, and they're all determined to go and get some money because they need to have some income to survive. Some situations happen with them. And so they decide they're going to go and loot any of the dead bodies from the war. So they're basically this lady, sweet young lady, who is with this group of prostitutes who goes to become a grave robber. And in doing so, she sees Elaine Bedouin on the ground, and he's completely naked. He's already been, all of his goods have already been taken by other people. He's left there for dead, but she notices that he's still alive. And so she calls attention to a passing sergeant, and she's like, hey, my husband is almost dying. I need your help. So she kind of poses as his husband. They bring him back to the whorehouse, and it's a very, very unique and very interesting opening. And I feel like there are a few books in here, this one and Slightly Wicked, that both had like really unique opening scenes like that. Not exactly like that, but Slightly Wicked was the one where she was posing as an actress and her carriage tipped over, and the Bedouin came to rescue her. He thought she was an actress. They went to a hotel room, like that one was very unique, and I really, really loved that one. That one's one of my favorite. That one is probably no, it's not quite my favorite. The one I read before this is my favorite, and then Slightly Wicked. Anyway, this book is just a complete delight. I really, really, truly love Mary's writing. I think she has such a gift for really building a lot of depth in her characters and a lot of real depth in the relationship. I think that she gives you a really good look at how relationships would have worked at that time, while not being so realistic that it's like depressing. Like there's still that bit of romance and fantasy in there, but it feels very steeped in reality, and I just really, really love that. Like it's very easy for me to get lost in this world, and with these characters, I think this is just really interesting and very beautiful and very fun. So at this point, the heroine Rachel, she has a fortune that she can have to get out of the whorehouse. She's not actually a prostitute, she's just living there with them. But she has to have a husband or be engaged. And so Elaine and her are sort of posing as they're engaged, they're planning to get married in order to get her fortune, which is a very common trope in historicals, but it feels very fresh here too, and just really new. And I think that I also really like how Mary gives you a really good look into what it was like to be a woman at the time without feeling very pedantic and really preachy and also really depressing about what it was like to be a woman. Like, I feel like her heroines are typically very strong and each in a very unique and different way. Like, she is very strong. She took care of her father when he had like a gambling issue and he passed away. And she really felt like she was a mother to him. Like, she's taken on a lot of responsibility and she's trying to survive and have a happy life still. And it's just such an interesting way to build a heroine that doesn't feel cliche, that doesn't feel like she's necessarily, like, it doesn't feel like she has created an overarching like theme of like feminist or even like, you know, like religious morality. I feel like those, when you come across books like that, it's like really off-putting. But this doesn't feel like that at all, but it also feels like it's telling a very deeply feminist story in a way that is completely captivating as a story in itself, you know? So I'm really enjoying this. I just feel like it's just a great time. Like, I'm just having a great time reading this. It's just very good. It's very immersive, and I'm just loving it a lot. So it's, I'm really interested to see what happens. At this point, the hero still doesn't have his memory back, so he doesn't know that he's a Bedouin. So I'm really curious to see what happens when that comes back. So highly recommend the series. I've really enjoyed all of them. Thank you to all of you who've been commenting and have been like, you have to read the Bedouin series. You need to read, you know, like when I mentioned I wanted to read the last book, I had a lot of people who were like, no, go back to the first, read the first book and then to get to the last book. And I'm really glad that I did that because I've loved every single book in the series. Like, it's just been so enjoyable and just very fun, and I've really loved it a lot. So really happy to be back reading this, and yeah, I'll let y'all know when I finish this what my final thoughts are. But I also wanted to show you, I did get my physical copy of Darling Venom. Like, even though I have very mixed feelings about this book, as I talked about at length, I'm really happy to have this because there were some really beautiful lines in here that had from Kellen's book, but also that had to do with depression and suicide and just really struggling to stay here in life, that I just thought were really beautiful, that I wanted to have a copy of. So I'm not sorry that I have a physical copy, and I actually plan to read more from this author probably as soon as I finish the Bedouin saga. But look how pretty. It's got, like, it looks like the letters that he wrote. I just think it's beautiful. I don't know. I'm really happy to have this physical copy, even though I still stand by that this was a 3-star read for me. There were some definitely, I don't want to talk about it anymore. There were some good things, but there were also some things that I couldn't look past, you know? So anyway, I still enjoyed it. I'm happy to have a physical copy. If for nothing else, then it's beautiful. But look how thick, y'all. That was a long book. All right, I will come back for a final update on Slightly Sinful when I finish. Hello friends, welcome back to the final clip. I finished Slightly Sinful, and I gave it 5 stars. I truly loved this book. I just felt like the setup in this was so unique, like I mentioned earlier, but I also feel like the characters were so well fleshed out. I felt like there was such, like, you could really truly see them falling in love. I adore books like that make it so, like, just realistic how they fall in love in a really beautiful, magical way. I just adored it, and I was really worried about what would happen when he got his memories back, but that wasn't disappointing at all. It was just beautiful. I love this heroine. She's so sweet. I really loved the relationship she had with her uncle, and I also really loved the side characters of the prostitutes in here. They were very fun. This was just a comfort read for me. Like, this was just a wonderful reading experience. It was just a pure delight from beginning to end. There really, honestly, are very little things that I would, like, but, you know, like, once you have the whole completed story, it's really, like, I don't know that anything that happened in here bothered me enough to where I could be like, well, I didn't really like this. Like, this was just a pure delight. I adored it. I loved Elaine's story. I loved Rachel. I just thought it was beautiful. The final scene when the Bedouins realized that Elaine is alive, like, was so wonderful. I just love this family. This was fantastic. This was 5 stars. I am so happy about this. So this one was 5 stars, and the one right before this one was 5 stars. Slightly Tempted, Morgan's story, and I can't ever say his name, Gervais. Oh my gosh, I loved both of these so much. These are both my favorites. I think that I don't know which one is my favorite actually. I didn't vlog reading this, I just read it. I can't decide which one of these I like better. They're both so good, but these are 2 standouts, and I read both of these this year, and I just loved and adored them so much. I am obsessed with this family and this writing style, and now, even though I'm ending this vlog here, I'm very excited to read this book, Slightly Dangerous, which has something like 16,000 reviews on Goodreads, whereas the rest of the Bedouin family books have maybe 1,000 or 2 or 4,000. Like, there's a big disparity in how many reviews this one has. So it's interesting that most people hear about this book, they pick it up and they read it, but they haven't read the books before. And I was going to do that same thing, and then I just didn't end up getting to it in a previous reading vlog that I had. And I think it was it may have been Linda or Hyacinth, one of you, or maybe both, said, please, please, please go back and read the beginning of this book, start with Slightly Married. And so I did that, and I'm so glad that I did, because this series is a favorite of mine. I love this series, and I am now dying to get to this book. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end this vlog here, and then I'm going to start with Wulfric's book, and we'll start a new vlog so that I can vlog reading this last book for you, since this was the one that I originally intended to read, I think way back in November, I think, or maybe even October. Did I have oh, because I didn't vlog in November. Like October, right? That was the last time that I think I mentioned I was going to read this. So I'm very excited, very, very excited. I'm literally probably going to start this as soon as I end this video, because I just love this book so much. And also I do have the 2 prequels that I will be reading too, so excited about that. It'll be interesting to see. Maybe I should have read those prequels first, but I do definitely plan to read those. Oh, did you bring me a toy? It's early. Kazi's got his toy here. He's ready to get started. So anyway, I feel like if you've been reading historical romance for a while, you've probably read Mary Belloc. If you're new to historical romance, like, I would recommend these books. I think they're beautiful. And I think that if you liked the Bridgertons, I would recommend this series too, because it has that same strong family feel that the Bridgertons has, only I feel like this is much more well done. I feel like it's just such a beautiful romance, and very careful, thought-provoking characters that have some really interesting interactions, and I mean, just some unique plots. I just loved it. I love this book so much. I can't stop gushing about it. It's definitely a favorite, and can't wait to read Wulfric's story now. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this vlog. I'm glad that you are here. If you've made it this far, please feel free to leave me any type of heart emoji. Let's make it easy, and I'll see y'all in my next video.